that job site was done, all those illegals would have been fired because of the warning letters. So they were pretty much allowed to do it before January, before Trump got into office. Hey guys, it's Blahzaye, and today we're going to get into how federal ICE agents just had their best arrest day in Tallahassee, Florida. We're going to see what people are commenting about it and an article about why companies are even still hiring illegal immigrants in these times. I mean, we all know the real reason.
Yes. Money.
Let's get into it. And I don't know if you guys see this, but there's multiple federal agents. There's multiple just agencies in general. We have the local police. We have the police, or the federal police. We have DEA there. We have ICE agents there. Everybody's here making these, going in and arresting all these people. This is a big operation. They want to get everybody. They're directing it. And I don't want any hate to come towards these people. Some of these guys are just following orders. They're not sitting there, freaking getting off on arresting all these guys and taking away from their families. Let's be honest. These guys are following orders. If you don't know this, guys, I'm a military guys myself, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and you're protecting the country in the name of national security. So don't give any hate to these guys. That's why they starting to have to mask up and everything. They're just trying to do their job done. I'm sure they don't want to do it and just destroy these people's families, especially the guys that are working. These guys are on the job site grinding it out. I'm assuming we must have got all of the criminals already. All the criminals must have been arrested already. We already have them locked up, and that's why Trump needs Guantanamo Bay back open. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? That we have to go to actual full up job sites and start arresting the guys that are working every single day. I don't know. Dude, and this is wild too. I've been working with this guy for years now. This is crazy. That's the thing. That's a lot of sentiment that's going to be happening. Everybody there's because these guys have been showing up to work every single day in and day out, even though they've been illegal this whole time. But you know what? The company that hires them knows that they're illegal. I know some people in the comments are going to say like,
oh, well, maybe they just had like the fake documents to get the job.
But this many people, this is like half of the damn crew. There's no way everybody did it and they didn't catch it. Otherwise, the company should just be held liable for being negligent and not knowing that most of their employees, like half of their employees, are freaking illegal immigrants, right?
Sorry, Bob. I'm pretty Alright, you'll come back. You'll be back. Don't worry.
Throw it down in the comments. What does this guy mean by this site's burned? Just like nobody can work on it anymore, or like the funding, now they're gonna have to charge the customer more because now how the hell they're gonna find half of their employees? They gotta hire a bunch of people. Well, now we know the jobs are open. This opens up the job market, right? If you're willing to work, are you willing to work outside, do the blue collar jobs? Are you qualified immediately? How are they gonna find half the people? What does he mean if you know directly what this means? Like this site's burned, or does it just mean like oh well, this site just got, now are their fines gonna come down on the company? I mean, that's what should happen. The company, it should be from the top to the bottom. The company just gets handled. That's what should happen. They should lose their business license if you're trying to hire a bunch of illegal immigrants. But no, we don't see that. I think the fine is like $16,000. We'll get into that later. Let's continue.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get out. Bro, this is the whole motherfucking job site.
Yeah, it's a whole job site. That's what I'm saying. There's so many people. The company hired all these illegal immigrants for the cheap labor, and now it's coming in. They're gonna sweep them all out. I hope they're ready to. Their HR office is freaking ready to backfill all these positions, especially if they want to, keep their deal with the customer. You know what I'm saying?
He's strong.
Hey.
We spoke with Mike.
Yeah, so at least those guys were keeping like some type of positive attitude. They're like, hey, screw it. We knew once Trump got in, hey, we're gonna lose. This was gonna be a possibility. Let's head to the comments. Never the managers who hire them. Yeah, that's the thing. I've always said this: put a $100,000 fine for each undocumented person proven to be working for your company, and the immigration issue in this country will change real quick. Let's go ahead and get a Google search to see like what's the actual fine that companies get. It says like the companies do get fined up to $16,000 per employee. Let's do a quick Google search real fast though. All right, guys, so let's get back into it. Fines for hiring illegal workers in the U.S. can vary significantly depending on the nature and severity of the violation. Civil penalties can range from $110 to $27,894 per violation, while criminal penalties can include fines up to $250,000 per individual and $500,000 per company, along with potential prison sentences. So why is this not being handed out immediately? Like you could imagine, it says per individual. If that was $250,000 per all those guys that we just saw getting arrested, yeah, that would be an actual serious, then, that'd be good. But here is like first offense, a fine of $575 for unfair immigration related to employment practices. So they'll get $500 and then just call it a day. As that dude just said in the other comments, we saw $16,000. They'll just call that a business fee and somehow find a workaround to find out how to tax deduct that anyways off of their expenses. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a deterrent. This would be a deterrent. This $250,000 to $500,000, it wouldn't even be worth it at that point, right? If you really wanted to keep the illegals out, right? If you just really wanted to get them out. Back to the comments. Yeah, I always mention this, but also if you arrest people at their job, they stop working, then where do you think they're going to go and try to get money to feed their families? Well, in this process, they're going to be deported, right? So that's kind of out there anyways. We can fix immigration in one law, literally one law. Anyone caught employing someone who is an illegal alien is $500,000, which is what we just saw, guys. But I just don't think that they do this. It's not for the first offense. We saw that. You would obviously need some, but he's saying like that should be the actual law. But since there's like lead ups to it, nothing's gonna happen, guys. Nothing gonna. And Trump employs, illegals himself, and they have like the H-2B visas and stuff that they utilize. So I mean, but then if you go do a full in-depth search through the company, you're gonna find other illegals, the housemates through all like the Trump hotels. Like, come on now. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. They really should be going after the company. I know. And there's going to be a lot of people that are like, hey, man, these guys are illegally here in the company. Those are all felons anyways. They're criminals. Let's get into that real fast. Being undocumented in the U.S., meaning present in the country without legal permission, is not in itself a criminal offense. However, certain actions related to immigration status, like entering the country illegally after a prior deportation, can result in criminal charges. Guys, it's just a civil. No matter what, it'll just still be civil. That means Trump, if you're like if you're working a good job, like these guys are on site day in after day in after day, and just have like your supervisor vouch for you or have the company vouch for you that you're here, you're attending, you're always at work, you have no criminal history whatsoever. Why is there nothing being passed to keep those guys in? And then, yeah, sure, go after the criminals. But these guys are working day in and day out on a site, most likely getting paid less. And if they're illegal, know this, they're not going to receive the same Social Security benefits. Like, they're not going to get paid out like how you would get paid out. So they're really getting the shit into the stick in terms of like benefits they'll receive later on. They're not really accruing anything because they're illegal, right? Unless you know something different, I'm always down to learn. Throw it down in the comments, please. Let's continue. Here's the thing. If they're picking up folks working in the country illegally, I'm going to need to see some white guys also being arrested for employing people working illegally in the country. Otherwise, it's just racism. That's never going to happen. But if it did, people would immediately stop hiring undocumented workers. That's the whole point, right? They shouldn't be hiring undocumented people. Like, if you stop doing that, people will start coming here because there's no more work. How would they get paid? They might as well stay where they're from, right? There's no reason to come here. But then, like you say, the Texas economy is completely reliant on paying undocumented people below minimum wage for their labor. So you can't strip people out like this. And the Nebraska farmers have already fallen out. Everybody's going to find out when all this cheap labor is gone. You will feel it. The markets will feel it. The companies will feel it. All the profits are going to be hurting when all this cheap labor is gone. And that's just, people just aren't seeing that right now. Let's go to the article, guys. With ICE raids increasing, why are construction companies still hiring immigrants? I don't know. That makes no sense. Why would they be? ICE and other agencies raided a Tallahassee construction site, detaining over 100 people, guys. So many workers. Florida law prohibits employing undocumented immigrants with penalties ranging from fines to jail time, which is crazy because we know even before Trump was in, like, there was a lot of Florida immigrants. And then everybody can be like, oh, well, the Democrats made it to where, Biden wasn't kicking everybody out. There wasn't deporting enough people. Trump was in before Biden, though. So, wait, what? Why didn't he do that before then? You know what I'm saying? On May 29th, officials from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Florida Highway Patrol, and Florida states and federal agencies swarmed. Yeah, they started checking the immigration status for at least 200 people in possibly the largest single-day operation yet in Florida. I mean, good on them. They're working. All they're doing, they're following orders. The president passed it down. This is a federal thing. They roped in everybody. They got patrol. They have police. Everybody's just doing their job. So it's like no hate to them, but it's just like, damn, guys. Hey, you gotta get out of the country at this point. Let them lose the cheap labor, and then hopefully they'll have a better avenue coming back into the country. But we don't know. We don't know how that's gonna roll out. Under Florida law, it is illegal to knowingly employ, hire, recruit, or refer any person who is not legally allowed to work in the state. This carries a lot of weight. It is illegal to knowingly employ. This right here is how I think all the employees or the employers get out of it, because they'll blame the employees, because they'll be like, hey, where's your I-9? Like, show me your information. The I-9 is a form that you submit, and it has like it's to verify all, like, you are who you say you are, pretty much. You put in all your personal details and everything. And they're like, oh, well, the employee lied on that. Even though the employer probably coached them to get to it, allegedly, right? They love that cheap labor. You don't think they're trying to help these guys get into work? Come on. In February, Governor DeSantis signed a package of bills addressing illegal immigration, including one that simply made entering the state without legal status a crime with a mandatory 9-month jail sentence, although that's temporarily been blocked by a federal judge. So why are they still hiring, guys? Why are they still hiring? The feds are pursuing the subcontractor responsible for hiring the illegal alien workers. When asked that question, Homeland Security said it was investigating whether construction companies were hiring undocumented immigrants in Florida, which is the fastest growing region in the U.S. I'm not gonna sit here and try to read it word for word for you guys. I'm gonna try to go through it really fast. For many years, the Sunshine State has looked the other way with immigration laws, which we've seen that time and time again, or at least not heavily restrict the agricultural, hospitality, and construction industries that relied on a steady source of inexpensive labor to keep costs down. We've seen that. That's across the country as well. 1 in 10 people in Florida were non-citizen immigrants, and they made up about 12% of the total workforce. Guys, these people, by the way, are all paying into the local economy. So you're removing 12% of your economy. No, it's even more. So you're leaving 10% of your economy, but it's 34% of the construction workforce, half of the people in farming and fishing, and pretty much 20% in transportation. Like, what the hell? Let's just remove that whole chunk of freaking labor, you know, and then that whole chunk of the economy, a 10th of your economy gone. However, undocumented workers may be paid under the table and off the books, making a true number hard to count. So we all know, guys, throw it down in the comments. Do you think it was more? Like, were they being paid under the table? Were the employers like coaching how to get these guys in to work to exploit that cheap labor? Or we can just assume that everybody's a good employer, everybody's ethically sound, and none of that ever happened. It's all above board. When asked if today's dramatic raids were a warning to construction companies who hire undocumented immigrants, the governor's office deflected questions. DeSantis commented saying state law enforcement making a huge impact on immigration efforts. Why is the state law enforcement having to do this though? Why are there not very strict policies already in place that make it completely unfeasible to even hire immigrants on the job site? Why does this have to come down like this? And then we go into the penalties. First offense, this is specifically Florida though. Before we were looking like federal in general. This is Florida. Contractors may face a fine of $500 or less, regardless of how many people discovered in the violation. The first offense is a non-criminal violation. So guys, I'm assuming this is this company's first run-in, right? This big anyways. There was 100 people that got arrested right here, you know, and for $500, right? So they pay a fine of, was that 50 G's? But then they lose half of their but a fine of 50 grand before we saw that it could be a fine of $250,000 to $500,000 freaking dollars. Or you know what? How about you just lose your freaking business license? That stops everything, but they're never going to do that. They don't want like real regulation to stop this kind of stuff. They don't want it. So yeah, DeSantis is trying to stop it, whatever. They're trying to do it. Look, have any Florida companies been fined for hiring undocumented immigrants? The administration had not taken action against employees violating the hiring requirement despite the tightened law until January. Then DeSantis started sending warning letters, guys. So once Trump gets in, that's when DeSantis starts sending out the warning letters. So that means he already knows. He already knows the companies are doing it. And he's like, hey guys, I know that you've been hiring all these illegal immigrants to keep the labor cheap here in Florida, right? Which I appreciate because it's boosting our economy, as we just saw, by at least 10%. All of Florida, at least 10%. So I'm gonna send you a warning letter to be like, hey guys, you better start either firing these people or relocating them somewhere because Trump is not playing, and you know, I want to try to run for president someday. Or try to rerun for president, right? So that's more than telling, guys. So, and then now more than 1,100 immigrants were detained across Florida during 5 days in May as part of Operation Tidal Wave, boom, boom, a joint immigration operation between ICE and Florida state and local law enforcement. So that's why. So we go back to the very start of this article right here. With ICE raids increasing, why are construction companies still hiring immigrants? And the answer is they still want access to cheap labor to see how far they can get it. They saw DeSantis give them a warning letter. And they're like, okay, maybe we got another 6 months and we'll put everybody on site to try to finish these projects because we've already built in the cheap labor to push out these products to our customers. So all these guys are still they're trying to get these projects done. And I'm bet that as soon as that project was done, that job site was done, all those illegals would have been fired because of the warning letters. So they were pretty much allowed to do it before January, before Trump got into office. But now things are changing. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. Like the video if you got any value from it, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. I've been Blahzaye. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.